Come here, son. Nephew, young man, let me holler at you. I do hope that somehow you saw the short version of this video first and ended up here, but I suppose I can recap. No, I'm not going to recap. I'm going to tell you about the first house I bought. I bought my first house at 18 years old. It was like maybe 1,300 square feet, not too far away from where I grew up. And eventually, I got a good deal on that house too, by the way. I used the first time home buyers program. I was able to get in at a good equity position. If you don't know what that means, it means basically the house was worth way more than what I paid for it, and there was excess value in what I owed versus what it was worth. So I was able to sell and trade up and then buy bigger. I've even gone through, I've been divorced and lost a house and bought another one, and I started off as a substitute teacher and eventually ended up doing other jobs in education. At one point, I was a principal. That's not where the cards for me lie. I work as a teacher during the day, but I have other opportunities I take care of afterwards, and life is still good. My first vehicle was an '85 Chevy Blazer with the bumper hanging off and a transmission that was about to go out, excuse me. And one day it did go out. If you know anything about Baton Rouge and that big hill going towards Southern University, when the transmission finally went out on me, it went out on me on that big hill, and I had to kind of use the emergency brake and just stop right there so I didn't roll backwards in traffic. I mean, hey, you start somewhere, you learn, you build. First of all, that natural process gives you wisdom, understanding, and appreciation for the process. When you are gifted something and it's too much, too soon, you will lose it in a blinding fashion that makes you question where this gift went. And you won't appreciate it. Or as a result of not appreciating what you got that you didn't really earn, you blow it. When you work hard for something, when it takes you some time to get somewhere, then you truly understand. A few years ago, matter of fact, while I was going through that divorce, I had a business idea, and I asked a wealthy cousin of mine for $4,000. He asked me for a business plan, and I could have made the business plan. I could have kept that conversation going, but essentially, it's not that he was saying no, but even if he would have said no, I still would have been okay with it. I might have even been better off if he just outright said no. I don't know, but either way, what I decided was, well, if I'm going to write a business plan, as a matter of fact, I became uncomfortable at that moment because it's like, you know what? He don't owe me nothing. I don't need to ask him for anything. The same way he got his, I'll get mine, even though I've taken some losses behind being married to the wrong person. You know what? I'll come back, and I'll come back 10 times better. And that's what I did. And I went back later on, and I told that cousin, thank you for not giving me that money. I needed that moment in life of dealing with the wrong person, and I had some other situations going on in which I was fighting some political battles for some people, again, who didn't appreciate it because they're getting the gift of my hard work and my neck being on the line and them not having any skin in the game. And by the time I took all those losses, nobody was there to help me recover, but that's okay. That's what happens when you give too much. Nobody owes you anything, but you don't owe anybody else anything either. That's just a side note. You need to spend your time as a young man building yourself up. If you're in your 30s, it ain't too late. If you're in your 40s, the clock is ticking, but you still need to do what's necessary to move forward. See, this internet makes everybody think. Y'all got to realize, man, these rappers that y'all are looking at, that jewelry is rented. That's that counterfeit money. Those cars are leased. Those are sets of videos. That's entertainment. Most of those guys aren't even living how they portray. Their children are in private schools. They speak properly a lot of times. If they are from an environment where they had to make a real come up in life, and I'm not trying to judge, but a lot of times those guys don't even know how to manage the money. So when they do get a little bit of it, they don't know what to do with it. And it's very unfortunate, as a matter of fact. But, even with these people on YouTube, man, don't let these folks on YouTube fool you and think something's wrong with you because you're still in college at 20. I remember that video from TLC back in the 90s, that song called No Scrubs, where, he's hanging out the passenger side of his best friend's ride trying to holler at me. Well, you know what? When some of us were in college, we did have to ride in the passenger side because we were in school instead of working full time. Or, I had a vehicle. I didn't necessarily have that particular plight, but I understand. As a matter of fact, there were moments in life where I did have to work full time so I could have those things, but my grades did suffer. But that's a different story for a different day. And man, you can go trying to impress these females if you want to, but TLC went bankrupt and didn't even get their proper royalties from their albums. So while they're telling you on the internet you're a scrub because you don't have some material things because you're building yourself up, these chicks ain't got nothing to begin with. And that's a perfect example. Don't you let nobody on the internet or let anyone make you think you're something other than what you actually are. And you have that vision of what you want to be in life, and you don't let anybody stop you from it. But you don't pressure yourself into unrealistic situations by putting the weight of the world on your shoulders and thinking that you have to be Michael Jordan on day one. Michael Jordan got cut from his first basketball team at Laney High School. He had to grow and develop into Michael Jordan. An eagle doesn't fly as soon as it comes out of the egg. It has to go through a nurturing process. It has to gain strength. Then that eagle's ready to fly and go on his own one day. They have this saying that says Rome wasn't built in a day. The Bible says, do not despise humble beginnings. Hell, if you're building a house, you got to start with the foundation. So what makes you think? Well, I know what makes you think that way. Don't think that you are a failure or that something's wrong with you, or get down on yourself, or get depressed, or turn to drugs or any type of addiction because you don't have everything right now. You got to put the work in. What you do have is a functioning brain and two hands that work. And that's all you need to get started. I don't care if you have no education whatsoever. You can go to school. You can get a trade. If you got one job and it doesn't pay enough, you can get a second job. You can get a third job. You can get a lawnmower and start mowing some lawns and make extra money. You can, shucks, I see all types of people. I was just in a Uber yesterday going from my job to where my vehicle was getting some repairs and some touch-ups done. And the Uber driver was an offshore oil driller, and he was driving Uber part-time because he wants to pay off things early in life. So if a man who's already making six figures can work a second job, surely a man who can use some extra money can do it. The sky's the limit, but you got to do it based on what you have to work with the cards that you're dealt. Don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything illegal. You got to take your time and you got to go step by step, and you will be fine. And as always, never lose the will to win and never lose the will to survive.